get started. Later on, if I will leave some time for the participants over here or the attendees over here to ask some questions as well. But let's get the ball rolling. YB.
Yeah.
At the moment right now, because just now you did mention that Selangor State contributed about 25-26% of GDP.
Yeah.
And we are one of the most advanced states in the country. But that's not enough. Maybe, YB, can you brief where are we right now? Are we still far away in terms of the competitions? Because competition is not only about the state, it's also getting the industry to develop. Where are we right now? What are the gaps?
Okay, I guess specifically if it's, are you talking about innovation, gaps in innovation or gaps in AI? Because
let's put it into more general, because I don't think that everyone is ready for AI right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about modernization and innovation right now in the state of Selangor.
Okay, so I'll talk about governments. I think that's where everybody, see their faces change when they say governments. Now, we have a Prime Minister who's very serious in conducting reform for the country. I emphasize that damn serious about it. So it means, I think, in terms of government services, we want to make it more efficient. Productivity of civil servants must go up. Things that take 10 people to do, this is 2024, they're still having 10 people to do it. But there's a lot of opportunities for automation of data. They claim they have a lot of data. We have to go through this process, to be honest, called digitalization, converting manually stored or paper-based data into data. Right? So you're thinking like folders going into like Excel sheets or Word documents for a start, or even databases. That is happening, that is ongoing. So we're talking about, these are the structured type data sets. Once we begin to do that, then there will be issues of duplication and doing the data cleaning part and that sort, right? So that there is that part as well. And I think what's exciting beyond that is once you have this set of clean data and applying it into various aspects of services. So for example, we have a situation, so it's quite complex. Malaysia is not like Singapore. We have a 3-tiered government. So you've got the federal government with its agencies and services, you've got the state government with its agencies and services, then you've got local councils. And in Selangor alone, you have 12 local councils, all with their own departments, right, and enforcement. So let's take, we are now in Shah Alam, one local council. Shah Alam has an IT department, obviously. It's got its own enforcement department, it's got its own revenue collection department. So if we talk about, say, Puan lives in Shah Alam, she says, the information about Puan Mai resides in maybe in Jabatan Hasil, there's one, whether she pays assessment or not. I'm sure she does. She looks like a very wealthy T20 here. Shah Alam, please take note, it's all recorded here. The other one is she may also have, maybe if she has ever been compounded, that is in the enforcement department data, right? And then water, again, so she must pay water bill, that sits in another agency in the state level called Selangor, right? So imagine if the government wants to ask a question, who is Puan Mai? If I want to ask that question, you've got to go down all these different departments and you've got like in my example, 3 different sets of data of the same person. Probably the same name, don't underestimate that, sometimes it may be subtly different. IC numbers will be very different, some's got dashes, some doesn't, addresses, etc., right? But when we talk about as government, so we want to move on towards a government that, so rather than today, what we say is, hey, here's a new initiative, please come and apply. This is where all of your faces will change. Apply, oh no, God, not another borang, not another department, not another number to get the borang. Very tedious, right? But imagine if we already have that profile of Puan Mai, and another initiative comes out, and you have an intelligent way to say that maybe we think from the profile and data set that we have, she is eligible. Wouldn't it be nice suddenly on her phone if it pops up and says, Puan Mai, we have this new initiative, we think you're eligible, would you like to apply? Then it becomes softer, right? That we are now meeting the true demands of citizens. And I think this is the new flavor of citizen management that we want to try and push within the state. Now, please be my friend here, because it's going to be a tall order, but I guarantee you, with whatever special powers I have temporarily for these 5 years, I will use it to my fullest. Because otherwise, if you don't invoke this change now, these things will never change. And you imagine, you multiply that to like business and doing business, it becomes more complicated, to set up businesses. All for the same reasons, that data is stored in silo. Nobody looks at taking that data and cohesively mixing it so that you get one truth set of data and then using that for future services. Another kind of technological challenge that we have is on revenue collection. The fact that Selangor is now landless, right? Tak cukup tanah dah. We can't reclaim yet. Bills in Selangor will have to be taller or deeper. But we don't build underground because, the anti-mendak kan. We want to build taller. Now, on the technological challenge today that we have, if you go on Google, key in your address, it gives you back a pin, right? That pin is usually two-dimensional. It's latitude and longitude, right? So if I live in a penthouse, which I don't, and somebody else lives on the basement of that bill, we all share the same pin, right? So how do we allocate pins in the Z direction? Because I talk about building a digital twin of the city. You need technological advances in geo-coordinates to try and consider the Z-axis, which we don't have. But if you do that, then I think we talk about assessment yang belum dikutip kan. If you look at flats and flats in tower blocks, then you can see who pays and who hasn't. Today, you see them all down on a condensed on one pin, and if you go to the assessment office, it's like spreadsheets lah. If you're lucky, if not, it'll be like forms in a folder. So I think we've got to change all this, bring that technology in, so we know where our citizens live, what are their needs, so that we can offer them better services in the future by looking at behavior, etc. Now I know that. So that's internally in government. So I know that it seems mundane to you, but I think these are the key enablers that we need to have in government. That sort of structured data, and there's another sort of unstructured data which are image-based. So this is where things like AI does a way better job. There's an intention of the government to install 2,000 CCTVs. Some of you have been to Singapore will just laugh at that number, because Singapore, which is 11 times smaller than Selangor, has 600,000 CCTVs. Although I was told by the Singapore police, not all of them are operational. Yeah? But I'm sure at the very least half of that number is operational. Now we are 11 times larger and wider than Singapore for the same amount of population, but we only can put 42,000 for now. Now what happens then is the following. Imagine 2,000 CCTVs. If you talk about any civil servant today, you've got 2,000 CCTVs. The next question they ask is, how many operators do you require to monitor the CCTVs? I mean, that's like the most boring job in the world, right? And I tell you, the best part of the things that they monitor are things like cliff erosion. Imagine like looking at a static thing on the screen, maybe a tree. Has a tree ever moved or not from like yesterday or that previous shift, right? Even if he doesn't fall asleep, I mean, it's humans, right? So we require AI to assist on feeds like that, so that things like that, and I think Selangor today being a transit state, I must emphasize that point. It's expensive to live in Selangor, so we notice there's a lot of people who live in Seremban and Nilai 3, but works in Shah Alam, for example. Fact that the problem is every Friday try going to the airport from Shah Alam. Yeah? I hope you don't miss your flights, right? And in the northern part, same story as well. Again, Sabak Bernam is in the northern part of Selangor, still very green, very kampung-like. But there's industry on the southern part of Perak. There's a big automotive city there. So a lot of people do migrate that way. So every day it's transitory, that's why our roads are very trafficky. Not because we have more money to buy more cars. No, I think it's the economic magnet of the country. So people will come in, but they live outside because it's cheaper, right? Is that good for Malaysia? Yes. Is it good for Selangor? Not necessarily. Because, see, like you guys live in Semides, right? You buy your house so that when you retire, the value will go 10x, right? So you can retire happily, but tomorrow somebody builds 2 or 3 condo blocks, 600 cars come in, become trafficky, nobody wants to live in your area, your property price, what happens? Drops. Or even stagnates. That's worse. I think that's the worst deal for Selangorians. And I think we've got to be smarter in how we manage our cities and plan our roads, etc. So again, image analytics is a big thing, and I think innovation in that becomes very important. And managing that whole data with today's infrastructure, it is only, my belief, accessible through cloud and cloud technology. So I think this is where you see a lot of chip manufacturer here and platform providers, data centers, right? I'm not interested in your hardware. I'm interested in the performance of your hardware to solve SME and people's problems, right?
That's where that I'm going to the next question. Now, today we are very fortunate to have all the ecosystem members here.
Correct.
And we always believe that to drive growth, to drive modernization, should not be the sole responsibility of the government agencies. Private sectors will have to play a part as well. And looking at this, in order for us to build a vibrant technological ecosystem, which hopefully we can provide more right and trade kind of solutions. I want to directly ask YB that how could the players from the financial, from the solution providers, or even the industry players play a part to cooperate, to add value together with the Selangor state government to drive this through. So I think that is very important for everyone to know, so that when the Selangor state becomes more modernized and it becomes more technologically advanced, everyone benefits and everyone will need to contribute. And what would your suggestion or recommendation, or how can we actually work together with the state government on this? Thank you.
Yeah, so ecosystem is a key word, right? So our role as government is to build the ecosystem. So I'm a bit different from maybe some other politicians who think that you got to keep, or maybe you don't necessarily have to pay for technology. You get the private sector to figure it out. But unfortunately, we're Malaysians. We're not Americans. Yeah, we don't live in a land where finance is abundant. Even if it is, it's being again guarded by bean counters. Right? People who sit on investment boards and do not know very much about technology development and technology risk. That's got to change. I think that was how the Americans did it, right? I was trained by the British in the same way. I think governments will have to spend. Mazzucato, famous economist, said that if it wasn't for the US space program today, there won't be GPSs and you won't have any SpaceX. So government will have to take on that enabling role. So on the one hand, I think there's a lot of innovations that SMEs want to do, but I think don't leave out the government. Help the government, because we're not going to go and code up all those fancy codes, right? That's for the SMEs. So we have the problem, the real problem, and problem owners, and we will become the technology users. I think that's a good start point. And this is where the idea of an AI center again, or centers, right, is where we demonstrate the availability of that ecosystem, the banks, the technology providers, etc. Start here. Let's have this as a wonderful working model. Get the government guys to come here, plow out all their use cases, and then we'll try and solve some of that problems. It's an iteration. I don't mind. We have to spend money, but I think once we get this right, we can scale up. I think it become a fantastic model. I think that's where the big money, the bigger money will come in. Yeah. Because people want to see it. I think it's like I was talking about the hardware guys earlier today, like chips, right? Yeah, it's a fantastic super chip, right? But the challenge AI, so some people told me that, Doc, we need to build an ecosystem, we need to have a big AI computation center. You know, one of these servers that does AI, I went to Huawei recently in China. They showed me, you know, about this high, right? Fancy color, blue inside, obviously, blips and all that. But they say that to run the AI servers, the connection that you require to the AI to really have a truly machine learning AI server requires 400 Gbps. That's 400 gigabit per second. Just access the server, right?
In layman terms, how fast is that?
Huh?
Maybe we cannot imagine even.
Your home internet is something like, I don't know, if you're on Unify, what's that like? 100, 200 Mbps, Mbps, megabit per second. This is like 400 times 1,000 Mbps. That's just to access the AI, and and people talk a lot about, they come to me and say, let's solve your traffic light problem, put in some smart traffic light system. Do you understand or not? To even compute the traffic data, to access that brain, you need like 400 Gbps, and then to push it back down so that it flickers at the right time before the car hits another car. That requires like super low latency, right? I think it's possible with the event of 5G. Next year, my minister at Federal, although same name also, YB Fahmi, has committed Selangor, this is the good part, only in the state, it will be 5G enabled in populated areas 100% by 2025. Yeah? So we will have the luxury of 5Gs here. Therefore, gentlemen, impress me with your AI. Make it accessible, make it affordable. The use cases will come, and I, as government, I will pay for some of those use cases. I think this is the only way to get our industry, to get our government, and even our people to appreciate AI at its truest. And then I think once they have a taste of that, let them run with their creativity. I believe in that because I've seen the examples when we train the SPM leavers half a day and the creativity they came up with. I met recently, just at a dinner function, some techie, nerdy looking guy came to me and said, YB, do you have a song for your constituency? I said, I live in Seri Setia. I don't have a song, brother, but what are you? Are you a composer or like a famous singer or something? How much do I pay you, dude? And then he goes, I'll create one for you. And I go, okay, all right, how long? And he goes, by midnight tonight. So I was at dinner. I said, okay, fine. Here's my number, etc. Okay, you WhatsApp me tonight. Before 12 o'clock that night, he came up with 4 songs, melody and lyrics, I kid you not. And I said, how come can you? It's all very, very nice, very, very modern and very youthful. How do you do this in like a couple of hours? I said, it's not even hours, maybe. I took only like an hour, 45 minutes. And it's all AI generated. AI can now generate songs. Imagine that. So I think I view AI, at least in the government side, as a first cut for you to get a solution. May not be the best, but it's the fastest way for you to Google internet and to avoid being conned by consultants unnecessarily, because they do the same thing. Also, you just pay them to do the same thing, right? I think once you unleash this new way of solving problem, I think that's where the big real fun starts. And I think once they are there and hooked onto it, and I think all the chip development and cloud data, everything will become exciting. And we stand looking at. I think at the moment, the bigger picture, macro picture, investment in Selangor. I have got 17 data center projects committed in Selangor alone. 17 already committed, 52 billion ringgit. And those guys are not building it for Malaysia. You know what they're building data centers for? ASEAN. Because we are one of the, if not the most at the moment, politically stable ASEAN country in the region. Now imagine our guys and our people, if we're good at AI, good at exploiting that technology, we can be exporters of the next solutions for the region of 700 million people. Imagine this small, humble state called Selangor, small country called Malaysia, 33 million. I think that's the vision, and it's something that you can do without, having the traditional nuts and bolts and, dirty and polluting, kids don't want to work in those kind of environment anymore, and I think that's going to be fantastic for the future of the state. And I believe we're on the right track. So that's an opportunity for you guys.
Thank you, YB. I will open up the floor to ask any questions. But before that, I will just ask a very simple, straightforward question. YB, do you think that Selangor can be the Silicon Valley for the ASEAN? very, very soon.
It's the rate of how we choose to change. So it's how fast we work, you know. You see, soon, I think it's not impossible. Because what is lacking now, I think, in that Silicon Valley, I've been there, I think it's that network of, it's, it's understanding who has the skill sets and the specialization and specialists. That's why, right? Yeah, I think you guys got to be the center of that. You know, be the first connecting point. Yeah. Then the word will spread. I mean, that's what it is today in Silicon Valley, because it's all spread. But when it began and started, it's essentially like how we are starting today. But we don't have the first mover disadvantage anymore, you know. And now I think, why should we limit it to just like Silicon Valley? You know, we can get funding from Silicon Valley if you like, because we are not connected, you know, globally, digitally as well. So I think it's a bigger deal for us, yeah, and it's a bigger opportunity for us if we get it right. Yeah. But at least in my term, we should get something done.
We open to the floor. Any questions from the floor to YB? Or you're too shy? It's just a small group. I don't think that you need to use.
See, I don't use ChatGPT also, so it's fine. Or you can check my answers.
Anyone? No question? No question? Okay.
Yeah, maybe actually in FMM, we just completed our second half of the survey, and we found that pertaining to Selangor, compared to the previous survey, we find that the readiness to adopt digitalization, including AI, of course, has grown significantly to 60%. So this is a tremendous increase in interest.
That's good.
So which means companies are ready, they want to, and we still have the old problem still pegging, is they don't know who to trust, which solution provider to trust, and at the same time they are looking for where are all the skill sets, where are all the talents who can help me to push my company towards adopting or transforming my company into a smart factory. So these are the things. And okay, and some of the companies will think that, okay, I have got my current group of employees. I want to transform them. Now, how do I do it? These are all the questions that are now on manufacturers' minds, especially. Previously, they don't even bother to think about this, but now they are. So this opened really a floodgate of opportunity for solution providers, for trainers, you know, and also the government to help to enable and to facilitate, you know, better. Just now, Fahmi say the government want to start it. I was very happy. Open the floodgate so all of us can follow behind. Yeah, that is a wonderful way to lead the state. And I during the Selangor budget 2025, actually when I heard our Menteri Besar mention that we will transform Selangor into a smart state, wow, that is a very, very, very ambitious statement, which I think is very good. We need to go into that direction. With the factories becoming smart, then all the others can also follow suit to become smart city, smart home, and everything. So previously, I remember one of my friends, this is a small story, he was so proud because he renovated his house, then the time was about 15 years ago, it's supposed to be a smart house. So he brought us to his house and then he said, now I don't have to use a key, I will just stand in front of my door and it will open. But it never opens. Because of the broadband service.
Wi-Fi.
And then he was so malu, he had to call his mate outside to open the house. So that was 15 years ago. So now the smart house shouldn't be that anymore. It be the 5G coming on board. Yeah, that is a shame.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's your question?
My question, okay. How are we going to go along this journey?
Okay. Well, thank you. I think the journey is the path undertaken by the individual SMEs, because I think their problems may be unique in their own right. What we should do as government now, I think previously we just gave them tools, we told them, come to Sukling SHRDC, they can use something called AI to make you better, right? Not very satisfied with that because again, they're taking these slow steps, right? So next year, we'll say, what if we fund half of your problem, but you must make sure that it has a 90% probability of being solved if we fund it, right? And if that 50% that we're funding are on infrastructure costs for you to access, use AI, at least to find a successful formula for your problem, then I think that's already different. Yeah? We're talking about a different methodology there entirely. Yeah? I think federal government tried to do this, but I think SMEs are scared because they ask for IP rights towards the end. I'm going to try next year with no commitment on IP from the government side. Let's see whether it works. I mean, we're not going to spend billions yet, but we're trying to find this formula. What is that formula, right? But think about this. I think True Puan will be concerned because she's from FMM. She worries about what SMEs. I want to tell you one thing that Malaysia has been very good at doing, and we must continue to keep doing this. What is that? We are producing local talents who are very useful for the global market. There's a lot of brain drain. I was almost going to be product cadet. I was valued a lot more in the UK when I worked for the defense, and I was a city trader in the city of London, made big bucks. I was trained by the local Malaysian system then. Yeah. So I think at the very least, we just need to keep training our future graduates. At least they know a bit of AI that will be very useful for the world, right? Their market today is the world. And if that is...
all the talents, after they train, a lot of SMEs says that after I train the talents, they go away. They go to bigger companies. And then the SMEs will start over there.
Yeah.
So that is still the problem of a lot of the SMEs that
correct.
They can't pay higher, but they still need the engineers.
Yeah, so that's the problem with our local SMEs, I know, but the bigger picture here is, from the country's perspective, that talent is useful for the world, right? And this talent, when probably they reach my age, I'm not very young, so they will feel that I want to go back and contribute to my country, and that's the call. That's a calling that I had. I came back, entered politics to do this because I think I know how to do it. Yeah, not for money, not for anything. I think a lot more people out there. No, I'm sure this is recorded, right, or live. There's a lot more of our talent outside, and they're just waiting to see when are the government going to call them. The Selangor government wants you, if you're out there, right? We want you to come back and give back to this country because you've earned your bit. Yeah, you've done your part. Now we've paid for you to become that. Now you come back. You want to lead a selfish life? That's your choice. You want to do something meaningful in your life? You come back. Yeah, come and talk to me. Selangor State Government will be one of the first. And I think this will make sure that, whatever we plow in and we continue to be talent generators for the world. And I think that's the right thing to do. And that's what we have to do. Yeah? Otherwise, we'll be left out. I mean, we're small, we're 33 million people, but, sorry.
The question to that would be, how are we going to retain these people here? And how do we call those who are outside their back?
Well, that's the role of government, right? That's where the funding comes in, the right money, the right ecosystem. And again, things like this, once we set this up, who is there to say that for the industry problems that we have, there may be one dude in I don't know, Australia, right? Tasmania, who solved this before using this particular AI. Why can't that be shared with us? At least to get people here started and understand about how AI is being used in that application. So, imagine this center is not going to be a static sekolah yang bosan, right? It's because we're connected globally. Imagine the intellectual firepower and intellectual access to intellectual capabilities by overseas Malaysians, And I'm sure that there are countries where people are not happy with that country, they leave and they're outside here, and they may want to come and assist us as well. I think we should be open. We should not think selfishly because we will never expand more than 33 million, I think, or more compared to other countries. But I think the market is global. Again, let's have that thinking, let's have that vision. That this so-called AI collaborative center, I think maybe for industry also, it could also be a point where we put our use cases up front, and maybe there are global companies who've actually solved it. I'm not worried about my IP, but I'm happy to do a sharing session. They do a Zoom from wherever they are, Iceland, what have you. We can benefit from that. So I think that's another good sharing opportunity that we can have between our local SMEs and opening them up to the global market. And what happens if you don't adopt AI, and what happens if they remain static with their manual approach in the global world today? They will be left out. I'm sure in China would have done this, years ago. I think we have to do a bit of catch up against China.
Okay. Any questions from the floor? Yeah, Peter.
My name is Rizal from CMB, and we've been working closely with SHRDC and also MMM. And we are bringing a very good proposition in the sense that we are looking at productive financing.
Okay.
Okay, not just a typical financing or capital, but these are all productive financing in the sense that how can we help the SMEs that can empower automation? Right? Because one, the issue is access to financing.
Yep, correct.
Depending on the product, then we very slow to turn around. Right? So these are all issues that we gathered in the past. That financing requires collateral, requires full underwriting, it will take a longer time. So now when it comes to 2024, we have a dedicated program, low cost financing, and no collateral.
Okay.
And this has started, we work closely with the central bank, and we have close about 1.1 billion fund just for automation and digitalization.
Good.
So what I'm saying is the scope is so flexible, it's wide.
Yep.
But the problem is the take-up is so slow. So as you mentioned in your opening speech, how can we address the decision makers to actually go on this journey? Because the financing is readily available, it's no collateral, it's fixed financing. So it doesn't matter what happens with the interest rate, whether the Feds rise and whatnot, the cash flow is still there. It's just that how can we stimulate the demand so that, because the SD is very important for our SMEs, because we need them to be future ready. Because it's also important for the economy.
Okay.
Right? So these are all productive financing. It is that how can we stimulate
Okay.
it? Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. Thanks.
Before YB answers the question, I just want to add on to how many of you in this room over here take the financing as the biggest challenges for you to move forward to digitalize and modernize? Let's take a look. How many of you take financial challenges as top challenges? Please raise your hand.
All got money.
Now, that gives you a little bit of figure that
So
financing is a challenge, but might not be the top.
not be the main one, I think, yeah. So the first point is, how do I kickstart this? Okay, I told you that next year we're going to do a one-to-one financing with SMEs. Now, you can do a one-to-one with me, so meaning half and half. State take half the risk, you take half the risk. So this is how banks should think, I think, because your rate of financing becomes higher if the rate of default of the lender or the borrower is high, right? So if the rate of default becomes less, meaning he's less likely to go bust, then your rate of financing you can give him lower, kan? So itulah orang macam you all senang dapat calls, you want cash light not? You want credit card not? When you already have 10, right? So because they know that you will pay, right? So same thinking, why can't you put that to our SMEs? But when we value their proposition, see, what makes sense is this. Say they're producing at X today, that factory, right? If they take on automation, they will produce 10X, right? If they produce 10X, how likely will they default? Probably less because the revenue becomes 10X. Linear, assuming it's linear, again, they're going to earn more, so they're more likely to repay their finances, right? So I agree if you want to say, here's some financing to help you scale up, but if you do reach your 10X, the rate that I give you today, R1, yeah, the new rate will be what? Less. And significantly less. Do that, be the first mover. You are CIMB, oh my God, Islamic some more. Huh? Go half, you have a lot of take-ups. And I think, so today I think the way our tech companies are thinking about tech, the way they do this is, it's always go back to government grants lah. So government take all the heat, right? And government loves to do, I don't know why, old government, current government cannot think like that. We got to work with, we got to discipline all these borrowers quicker, right? So if there are incentives like that or inverse rates like that, I think it will make a lot of sense. I think lessen my burden. I mean, can't charge any rates, but I keep giving grants, but I give to more people because now you're taking half of the load, right? So you're going to be my partner on camera now? Yes, okay, thank you. Sam is on, that's a commitment. Yeah? I'll tell our MB, at least we'll figure out what that model is. About when we come to approve of this matching grant, we'll sit together in the panel. Yeah, we'll look at, and the commitment must be what is the probability of you achieving 10x once you've experimented here at SHRDC with that particular technology. Now it's going to be exciting. That's why I said we have got to find that model. But I think this model is very rational. If it works, forget Silicon Valley, the whole world will come in. I'm sure the Chinese banks will line up. We just spoil for choice by then, yeah? Because I think we have a lot of innovators here. Okay, thanks. Good question, Friza. Thank you.
That's a very good proposition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to add, we already have that program right now, but it's on low carbon transition. Thank you. There's a very good model. So just want to add, YB, you already have that model right now, but it's mainly on sustainability link and low carbon transition.
Good.
Whereas you achieve a certain milestone, you reduce your financing.
Good.
So this is what you are suggesting, right?
Yeah.
So if you achieve a certain productivity level through automation,
good.
you're going to reduce. Because as mentioned, that's how the risk and return works, right? So
Yep.
the better you are, the lower your risk, and that hence the bank should be looking at that.
Yeah, since you're on carbon, I talk about in governments, there's a lot of digitalization that's ongoing. Once we digitalize, if I reduce the amount of paper that I use or carbon that I will emit in that process, there's a value there, right? But I got to spend money to figure out the automation to do that. If I put that to the bank and say, look, I will reduce X amount of carbon worth Y, will you give me some financing for Y? Or give financing for Y at 0 or whatever, right? Because it works for everybody. You want more records on carbon reduction initiatives. We are reducing carbon initiative, but you see, and it will be cost savers in the long run, right? So let's explore models like that. Kita banyak sangat kertas ni. I don't have enough trees already. It's got to be there and absorb carbon, not be turned to paper. So yeah, I think we'll figure out that model. But thank you, Sambi, as being a partner, probably the first. And I hope that bank with the yellow tiger, don't be shy. Sorry. Competition works, I think, in the real world. So yeah, okay. Right? Thanks, Susan.
That's a good discussion over there.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
There's also our collaboration with CIMB and Bank Negara.
Fantastic.
So to support this model, the SMEs right now, they do not know also how to prioritize and where to start, or what are the key areas that they should start now in order for them to achieve that 10x or 15x or 5x, right? So we have an assessment tool where we will run a 5 days assessment in factory, and then have them to prioritize what are the 5 key areas you should focus on, whether it's on the sustainability or on digitalization, and that benchmark against the peers, the same industry on a global index. So not just how am I comparing to my peers in Selangor, but how am I comparing to my peers, my same industry globally. So we have that assessment in place right now, Siri for digitalization and Co-Siri for sustainability. That's why Michael is here. He's from Singapore.
You're good. Thank you.
So he's on the sustainability side.
Michael, you want to say something?
Thanks a lot, Somin, for the introduction to the insight, and also I met you earlier on, Dr. Fahmi. It was really encouraging to hear what you have been saying about the advancement of AI and how is that going to help the industry, the SMEs over here, and so on and so forth. In my work with SHRDC, specifically with Dr. Chua, we've come across not the resistance to do sustainability, but rather the funds, the resources that they have to do it. So I've been hearing that quite a bit, even in Singapore, and the requirements to have the government to come in to support them is critical and essential. So I would just like to ask your opinion on it. Is the government providing some form of a funding to drive sustainability for SMEs? Because now you've got EUDS, CSDBD, EUDR that is driving sustainability requirements down the supply chain, and companies who are not able to mix that is going to be out of business. So I sincerely believe that sustainability is going to be part of the competitive advantage or the differentiator moving forward. So as a government, how are you intending to support the SMEs over here in terms of sustainability? Thank you.
Okay. So in terms of Selangor SMEs, I think there's a number of something like 260,000 to 300,000 SMEs in Selangor alone that we know of. There's a program, again on the sustainability trust, to look at making them a bit more ESG enabled or ESG compliant. That requires, I think at Invest Selangor, they have engagements like this to talk to SMEs to see their readiness to adopt, and I think they are looking for matrices and systems and how they can go up the ESG level. Again, it's all, if you're more ESG, if you're higher rated on the ESG, your funding becomes cheaper because you are, I think integral to that, doing it in a Malaysian context, I think it's one of the key enablers, quite very, very key, I think, is the carbon market development by Bursa. Once those guys at Federal works a bit faster and cracks that, I think there's a big way forward. Because now it's all about pricing, and when I look at this, for municipality financing also, it makes a lot of sense. You see, for example, when you look at our municipalities, you look at the trees that they plant. I mean, try and look at the same tree for many times. Is it still the same tree or not? What happens is, number one, either it's the same tree and it grows to become a bigger tree, right? And in the tree growing to that big size, the initial cost is what? The initial small tree plus the fertilizing and the nurturing of it until it becomes big, right? So all that, it has cost, right? So how do you value that big tree today? We don't. But imagine if you valued that, right? What we do is we chop that tree and then we plant another small tree in, right? Or worst case, we buy another big tree from outside. So it's all gone just like that when we talk about planting trees for our municipalities. But I think if there is a carbon market, so whatever we've plowed into it becomes a carbon absorbent. So there's a value for carbon. I think there'll be nice valuations that can be done. And if you look at like fractionalizing or tokenizing that tree to the community, you can even get the community to take care of that tree because that tree is worth a certain amount of value. So, and they will protect that tree and safeguard that tree because it's value for the community. So there's a way of gamifying that process to make sure people communities become more responsible for their environment. See, that same concept applied across to like water pollution or plastic waste, all that can be gamified. So that requires a bit more of creativity, but again, to enable, it's the value of carbon. Where do you put the value of carbon, right? And imagine doing that for the world, Malaysia as a whole. Selangor has a 30% forest coverage. What money am I earning from that? Everyday developers come and say, oh, YB, we open up a bit more, just a little bit only, there'll be one more tower here and there, But if that value, that has carbon absorbing value, has value, I'm sure they shy away because then we will see we can compare the two benefits here, leave it as a carbon absorber or chop it down and build more condo blocks, right? So I think, it makes a lot more sense, and I think a lot more sense for government when we take care of the environment and it brings back money for us or value for us. I think it motivates a different way of looking at the environment. But I think, like I say, there are efforts at the state level. Please get involved. I can introduce them to Invest Selangor. I think CDEC was tasked to do that. Whether they do it or not, I'm not sure. In getting our SMEs to be ESG compliant, and then figure out this new way of taking care of the environment. So, because I think the world has solved this problem. Thanks.
Thank you, Ravi. So just now we actually discussed about financing. We discussed about the sustainability. We discussed about the ecosystem. And today we are at SHRDC. It will be unjust for us to focus a little bit more on the people side. Just in question, who actually put people as the biggest challenge in doing business right now? Raise your hand. I want to compare the importance of it. Raise your hand. 1 minute, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rest? Okay. Basically, I think that the Selangor State government is doing a good job because most of the companies over here are doing very good. They don't need any challenges, and so just a few have the people challenges over here.
Yeah.
Now, talking about people challenges, just now one you also mentioned that we can be the talent center for the global and so forth.
Yep.
And how do you think that the Malaysian smart factory in specific under Dr. Chua side, okay, under Dr. Chua side, specifically can really work together with the SMEs to develop something. Now, government is coming out with support.
Yeah.
That is a commitment for money already. Okay, but the thing is that last 2 years when I went to the one talk about the Industry 4.0, I was speaking on the stage, and I was informing the SME saying that there are government grants for you to go for free training on Industry 4. But one of the SMEs just came up and told me that, so what? I don't even have time to send my people out for training. Okay, that is the word by word.
Yeah.
Okay, if I send people for training, no one's going to do my work.
Yeah.
So this mentality, I believe that offering from the government for SHRDC, I can see that is there. But the mindset change of the industries, okay, all the bosses are here, okay. You might be thinking of yourself, descendants, I'm not too sure. Okay, but this kind of mindset continues despite that numerous awareness, numerous policy and incentives have been given. What do YB have to say about that? Because if we don't change this, it's no matter what the government does, it might not be able to go as fast as we want to. Your comment.
Well, I haven't figured this one out yet because I think it's quite specific, isolated cases. Well, not isolated, but I think very specific to the specific industry. You see, what's never come back. We are willing to fork out money for training, but what we do not know is what sort of training would that require. What we don't get also is that valuable feedback from industries who have cracked it. You know, your competitor may have solved this. How are they solving it? Where are they getting that talent? Rather than waiting for this guy to come out of university, maybe it is only like this spreadsheet skill that needs to be taught, right? But that has not been sent back to us or fed back to government to be embedded in our formal curricula. I think that's the missing link, really. So until we solve that, this thing will keep happening, and there's no point pretending about it. We will be honest about it. Yeah.
Any questions from the floor? Yeah, over here. Nearby, please.
Thank you. Okay, I have a question here. Do you have any ideas of setting up an automation cluster for Selangor? Like what we have in Penang, where we give the opportunities to SMEs to share these resources in terms of automation. So similarly, like we might have a certain equipment that it can be shared among a few factories. So do you have any ideas of setting up similarly? Maybe SHRDC can be center point for that.
Yeah. So that's the reason for putting SHRDC up in the limelight here. I think we are somewhat different than Penang. Penang consciously started and began as an E&E ecosystem industry there. I think consciously the federal government said, hey Penang, you're going to be this, right? Selangor hasn't been thought in that way. But what is consciously being thought is that we have all the airports, international airports in the country. We have all the big seaports in the country as well. What we have not figured out is how do we synergize the two? I think if we figure out a way, I think I have a solution here. if we build dedicated rail tracks or dedicated highways to just connect the movement of goods between these two centers, away from commercial cars or motorcycles, or even bad motorcycles, I think, because it's too dangerous. I think we become a nice trading hub very, very quickly. So things that come in from the air can get shipped out very, very quickly, guaranteed time and all that. The point is we haven't figured out what industry is that. One key industry, or two maybe now, that we've thought of, one is aerospace. So aerospace, again, we take pride that 60% of the aerospace companies that deals in aerospace in Malaysia are all in Selangor. But do they even talk to each other? No. You know, it's unlike the setup in other countries. So other countries, for example, say France, if they decide to build the tail of an aircraft, then they'll work out if the tail is required, there's some rivets that's required, there's some screws that's required. So they start to begin to consciously build that ecosystem. We don't have the luxury of that today because we don't have land, etc. We left it to the industry. So I think this is where a big rethink needs to be done in Rancangan Selangor Kedua. The second, I will put a lot of emphasis in this. We've got to start choosing what are the industries of the future to have in Selangor. The fact that we don't have any more landmass, what right things that we can do. So one of the things will be to build the digital economy, things that requires connectivity to the cloud, you know, connection. So we are putting the right policies in, and I think it's really bearing fruit that we will have the best connectivity in the country, and also a lot of data centers being worked out. So I think given time, so I need feedback from all these cloud and data center providers, you know, what talent skills you require, what training, what are the gaps, etc. You know, feed that back to us so that we can really, we have an opportunity here to really build that ecosystem. And I don't think, you know, there's a decision today to start going into chip design in semiconductors, you know, that's fine, but they want to build the whole ecosystem and compete against Penang. I don't think that's very wise because Penang has figured it out, you know, years ago. So let them do that, right? But I'm sure if you think about this digitalization, it permeates across many industries. I think there are a lot of problems that we're happy to solve, and if we are the state that can solve it in the quickest time for the cheapest price, you know, your market will be the world. So I think that will be the thinking. And again, I apologize that we have not really thought about which industries we want to build. And I really think things like derivatives in Islamic finance, that's one other possibility as well. And there are limits to why we could not develop that product further because we don't have enough assets to back up those transactions. But what if we did? And what if we, you know, I think we think about that, we can really do this. You know, a small country like Singapore can become a trading nation for ASEAN. I mean, we have more opportunities here, guys, you know. So we are thinking hard about it, and we appreciate feedback from industry to guide us, you know, where this new growth area should be.
So I think that it's time for us to have an organized roundtable with the ecosystem. You have a question over here.
Let me clarify just a short one. Yeah. Talking about the resources, right? We industry, we find that we actually facing an issue on the talent, especially on innovations on smart factory nowadays, right? So what would be the state government effort, for example, like dealing with maybe university, because we find that disconnected what actually in the university when the industry go down, right? And the students, actually it's not what the industry wants in terms of syllabus.
Yeah.
We find that this connection between the university and what the industry wants.
Yeah.
So one issue. And another thing is when our colleague mentioned that, yeah, we are not talking about the SME, but it's very hard for the industry or the company to let go our people to go because we have limited resources, right? We would like to hire the fresh graduates. Unfortunately, we are able to get the right skills match with our requirements. So we find that a few parties or agencies actually are not working together, right? University, industry, the government. So how the state government try to align these issues so that we actually we have to go to the square one. We can't find the right talent.
Okay. Well, let me put you this way. Let's pick a country that builds aircraft. say Germany, right? Do they have talents in aircraft engineering and aircraft technicians? Do they have to go and hunt for talent from other countries? No. Why? Because the country has consciously decided that we are going to have aerospace as our key industry and we'll build a whole ecosystem. When did this country, Malaysia, make a decision like that on anything? None. Yet industries, you can blame the government, you don't have the right curricula. Why should the government write the right curricula for what? Because you said, at one point we said that we want to be an engineer, a country producing cars, right? It starts with the letter P, right? Now there's more than one company starts with the letter P, right? When did the curricula change to say that, you know, we must have car technicians and car engineers feed into this industry? Never. You know, that because, you know, but we started way earlier than South Korea. South Korea at that time, when we had our protons being like cars of ASEAN, right? They didn't have Kias and Hyundai. They started way later. But they learned from us, right? And I think it is getting back to that state where we should decide, you know, what industries of the future. You know, I say, should we go to space? I said, damn right, we should go to space. Because that's the pinnacle of engineering and science. But be serious about it. You know, don't leave it to agencies like MISA to decide alone. You know, they can't do that. They're good at blueprinting, but then how do you build a whole industry that supports that ecosystem? So thinking needs to be done, and I think once we solve that problem, then we can solve this whole education problem as well. But whatever you say about that education system that we have, we are here today. Thank you to our. I didn't go to Alice Smith. Maybe you did. You know, this is from the same wretched education system that we think, right? It's already producing something. It just needs to be fine-tuned and given more focus, right? That's all. And maybe I don't think primary studies should be 6 years and secondary should be 5. Maybe we could shorten that today, right? And we give them more beneficial skills and better basic skills like conversational skills and things like that. So you know, and again, you're right. Your industries that you speak of, you know, there's probably a foreign industry that resides in Selangor thinking they can get cheaper talent here. And that's the approach, typically. Because again, when we call in industries, it's always like we have incentive, cheap labor, everything cheap, then this is the mess that we are here today. You know, I think we should stop short selling ourselves. You know, be a bit proud. We're Malaysians, right? This is our land. You know, we dictate what we want. So I think have a bit of thinking there. I think we can solve this. Yeah.
Maybe if I may suggest one of the possible solutions, because this topic about the talent doesn't mean the industry needs has already been spent 20 years. Yeah. It's there and never been changed. Yeah. But maybe right now what we can do is that since state government is committed to help industry, and the industry, maybe what we can do is that commit ourselves for a senior position of our company. We send our people to go to universities to lecture them. Because if you only rely on the lecturers who have not been in the business, we are going to be circling the same thing, nothing will change. We have to do it differently, and doing it differently is for us from the industry to tell them what we need. That is my suggestion.
Correct. That's where SHRDC can play a role. Big role. This industry feedback, continuous real-time feedbacks on the needs of the industry, what you are sensing. We'll be very pragmatic and very dynamic, and I think our people are ready to adapt to that changes, right? It's just that we need to know where to change and what to change.
Correct. Yeah? You have the question to start.
Hi, Andy. So I'm Gilling from Embedded AI. And we've actually been working with the likes of AMD, Intel, and also Verizon for quite some time. So in fact, I just came back from Silicon Valley. And for us, we actually deploy enabling generative AI software, actually the software stack. That's why I work with these giants. So I think I have some opinions that I can share, then afterwards I finish up with one question towards Wendy. Is that from my own perspective, what I see in Silicon Valley, since the very early days of 2011 or 12, when we are embarking on this big data, and finally we are on the forefront of neural network, and also finally deep learning, and then finally Gemini, is that in Silicon Valley there's basically just peopleware, people as in people, software and peopleware. So peopleware is the culture, and the culture actually creates a critical mass of talents, right? And the critical mass of talents actually enables the innovation. So in the very beginning, there's enablement from chips. So silicon chips are actually on there. Then afterwards, internet is being pounded there. And now it's actually in the era of generative AI, right? It's actually the tools. So that's what we are seeing here. So in terms of tools, right, when we talk about digitalization, that's been very difficult, but with Gen AI coming on board, the digitalization actually becomes way faster because the OCR and the large language model can actually even understand handwritings, which are pretty much, like not even the doctor can identify if they were handwritings. The large language model can do it. So the digitalization paradigm is way faster now. So we don't actually call it digitalization anymore. We call it intelligization. So we are creating, in the past we said data is very important, now we will say intelligence gravity is actually very important. So our role is actually to make all these things very intelligent, and I think Dr. Chua is working with us, and then he invited us into SHRDC, and this is becoming something very interesting because we are working with all the Intel and also AMD globally, and also Verizon, and we find that our tech stack can actually assist a lot of startups and a lot of manufacturing industries to be able to adopt Gen AI within just 1 to 2 days, instead of using months of months, because we use a different strategy. We call it a deploy first strategy. Instead of data, going to training, going to evaluation, and finally only deploy. So because large language model is smart enough, you just need the correct stack and also a correct matching tiers of enabling hardware. So we can start with workstation level, which is relatively very low cost, mid level, and finally high level if you're looking at on-prem. If you have clouds, then we also have enabling clouds thing. So what we do is something like the second generation of VMware, so it's a tokenware. So enabling the infrastructure of Gen AI to be built. So here's my our question to YB is that now SHRDC is able to take up this role as a center of this critical mass of talent, because in the end of the day, having internet doesn't mean that you need to learn how to use internet. It's about all the use cases of the internet that props up. So now we are the machine that is enabling the use cases to prop up very fast within a couple of days. Then SHRDC is going to push that. So in the lights, in the very same line as CNP. So instead of doing productive financing, we are thinking like, what we are thinking is empowerment. So we will contribute a one-to-one kind of model. So we will empower the manufacturing side or any of the industry side who wants to adopt Gen AI. We can guarantee you, we can do it in 1 to 2 days. So the other side of the industry will put up the efforts to match it. But my question is like, what would Selangor State be able to do to assist actually the RDC in this, like from the resources kind of perspective? Thank you.
Yeah, so like I said, that what we can fund will be the infrastructure side. But I think here's the challenge, right? Can the SMEs or the hardware providers white label the IP if whatever IP is created in solving that problem, say a second company comes in with a similar problem, he gets to do it at zero cost. Okay, then we have a deal. So the third company, fourth company comes in, same problem, right? And you will get you to showcase and scream and shout, mine is the best, whatever. Yeah. As long as you come to SHRDC, you can solve this particular problem. See, we don't have a depository or a GitHub of the solution that industry have made. Sekarang everybody simpan sorang-sorang. Okay lah, be rich. Good luck to you, dude. World doesn't work that way anymore. Yeah. And the country, the state as a whole, we want to see if there are 5 biscuit factories in the country and only one, and in the state, only one uses AI. I'm sure the other 4 must be made to be aware that you can actually become more productive because SHRDC has seen a good use case here, right? It's easy for technologies to scale as well. So I think that's the key thing that will be different. this time. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
That-
we
that's
have
it.
been talking about 1 hour right now,
Really?
and I think that is very productive. I believe that why we agrees to it. And the keyword over here from the responses from all the participants and the feedback from YB is that the keyword is still where we started just now, the ecosystem. It can only work whereby the government is committed, the private sector is committed, and of course, we, the industry, we have to be responsible for what we take from the ecosystem. We have to be productive in order to grow more, and then hopefully that very soon, Selangor State will be growing much better. Just I hope that the cost of living will be so high. I will let YB to do summary closing, just to summary address from everything that we discussed just now. Thank you.
So thank you. So higher cost of living may be good for us, because pay will go higher. No issues of talent anymore. Your problem is because you want to find someone clever but cheap. Doesn't work that way. Yeah? But once you can afford to pay them, I think talent will come. Already, I think there are a lot of foreign talents that we're hiring to help us. So again, I thank you, SHRDC, for this wonderful session, and for Sir for moderating the session, all the participants. I'm very grateful to all of you. This is not cakap kosong. I've got my officers to make notes. I'm going to make this into our budget announcement in November, and hopefully once we have the money available in January, I think let's coordinate another deep dive session. What sort of models are we looking at? And let's try and do this for once and get it right for the sake of our state and sake of our country. So thank you very much. Thank you for your commitment and time. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much. Today, you want to end the whole session?
Yeah, go. Tuan Rumah.
Thank you, Wendy, for your time today. I think all of us, we have also hear what is the state government's aspiration, and like what Yap mentioned just now, let's do our part and help the government, help the industry, and make the life of the future better. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you again in January after YB announced the
Desember kita cuti lah.
We'll start working in January. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.